This panel is going to be about who is going to provide or who's best suited to provide the marketing services in this very crazy world that we are living in today. We're in a situation where you have platforms coming directly to channels saying, you tell me what your marketing brief is, give me a budget, I'll make your ad, I'll find a whole content creation community to actually send out different messages to people, and you'll get the final result. So it's basically disintermediating the agency if you go that way, and people can work directly with platforms. You have situations where clients even are in-housing by saying, I might take the entire creative ad development in-house, or I might take strategic planning in-house. And there are a number of clients who are also saying, we're doing performance in-house. So you've got a full range there. So in-housing or directly working with platforms is one phenomenon. We seem to be having Holding Cos who are the 3, 4, or 5 maybe global agency networks. And now, interestingly, over the last couple of years, they're consolidating to the extent that agency brands are now diminishing, and you just have the holding companies operating pretty much as the face, and they've got a full integrated data, tech, and the full spine story which they're coming out to clients with. And then at the same time, curiously, you've got a whole lot of independence mushrooming. So you've got upwards of maybe 1,000, 1,200 or so e-commerce people, entire performance marketers are also even more. So the agency system is not going anywhere. The independents are, if anything, growing. Maybe in Madison, we are an independent, but we probably are a little apart from all of them because we also fall for the full suite of services that one of the Holding Cos would do, but we still are proudly independent. Now, in this kind of an environment, who is the best suited to manage this? So, very simply, can one agency provide a full funnel experience? Who is best suited to provide, the different services, whether it's content creation, media planning, performance marketing, e-commerce, the entire tech capability, analytics? Each of these are things where some people are working with one, some people are working with multiple. In this programmatic world also, how important is scale? Does scale and size still matter, or is it intelligence that is most important? How important is agility? Because we have to be adaptive at this point in time, and who is right now best suited to actually do this? And also, in this entire digital ecosystem, with so many people involved in the value chain, how are you feeling about the lack of transparency, or transparency for that matter? Are you comfortable with it? And who do you think is the best person to give you the most amount of reassurance in that? So with this kind of a background, I think we're blessed to have a panel of 4 business leaders. Ashwath, of course, handles the entire fertility business. He comes from a rich pedigree of Hindustan Lever, so he's actually going to give us a perspective of how FMCG is probably having to relearn the game from now people like today's game, that whatever we've been hearing for, and what he's right now holding forth at Indira IVF. Sarina she's been in the reality real estate business now for a while. She's really targeting the discerning public for whether it's residences, offices, retail spaces. So she has to actually figure out how to create, how the Oberoi brand, which is such a fantastic brand and when it comes to premium kind of spaces, how she has to really make that work. We've got Raja, who's now taken a coffee brand, which it was a very big export coffee brand, but now it's becoming a huge local brand and is giving a run for the money to all the large legacy coffee players while still managing to hold the regional brands. And he's had a story to do, so he's got to play the full funnel in being able to actually get that. And not the least, we have Sahil, who has actually been probably in the full funnel experience, had the most experience. He sells insurance, probably arguably life insurance, arguably one of the toughest categories to sell. And with all of these, we are hoping to, okay, a disclaimer here. All 4 are Madison clients, so I hope they'll say something nice about us. But more importantly, I think we are introspecting and reflecting on the environment in front of us And what at least I'm selfishly hoping to get out of this is, if you can give us a few tips at the end of it to help us improve, I think it'll be a fantastic session for us. Okay, let's kick it off. Okay, Sahil. Yes, life insurance, probably one of the hardest categories to sell. Putting a value on your own life has never been easy. You also have to work in a highly regulated IRDA environment. You have to be highly authentic. On top of that, you've also just pulled off right now a very major rebranding exercise. Now in this entire environment, as you're moving forward and everything that you've heard in the last couple of hours and of course what's with us, what is your reflection on the way you've been working your agency ecosystem? You're working with a holdco when it comes to creative and when it comes to, say, influencer marketing and the entire social piece. You work with us on the entire media planning as well as the online sales, performance, e-commerce bit. And you're also doing a little bit of content creation on your own from time to time. Now, in this entire system, what's working well for you and what can improve?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting us, and I think I've been through the sessions. Quite an amazing, day it has been. There are quite, very interesting factual disclosures that have happened today. Thanks, Sam, for doing a complete, comprehensive, report presentation. Going back to the question, I think rightly pointed out, life insurance as a category is a fairly complex one. Not just for the fact that the product itself is complex, but even the journeys are fairly complex. Paying a premium just means the start of is just the 50% of the journey completed. There's also a lot of a process and steps that are involved beyond just paying a certain premium. I think beyond that as well, when you say people putting value on their lives, and thankfully for kind of mentioning that as well. In India right now, if you look at the life insurance industry, it's hardly 3 to 4% of the entire GDP, and India is a very, very underpenetrated market for that matter. And the job at hand for life insurance players is pretty much not just to create awareness, because awareness is fairly there, by the way. Some of our flagship studies that we do by the name of India Protection Quotient and India Retirement Index Survey, they pretty much call out that there is a high level of awareness. If I go out and ask people whether or not life insurance should stand out as the primary financial product in your investment planning, the answer is yes. But eventually where we fall back is the action, right? And this particular problem statement of being having an awareness but not leading into action is a perfect kind of problem for a media planner as well. So the approach that we generally take, and I'll go by content to media, from content to media. I think in the content, as far as we are aware, and we've been playing in this industry, story is the king. So whether it is you can call it brand building, you can call it traditional spending, but I think what Sam also mentioned, building brand and story, putting your might behind is quintessential. You can call it again CTV or LTV, but large screens do matter for us, and hence I think that area is very, very important. Moving on from in the storytelling space, we are, as you mentioned, we are working with a large holding company, and the reason behind this is that it gives us the maturity of understanding the consumer insights very deeply. It also gives us the kind of stance that the life insurance industry wants to take as thought leader across the kind of BFSI space. And more importantly, I think when you have a base of story, pretty much out there, which has been thought through well, you can create a consistent model across your entire funnel, whether it is top funnel or a bottom funnel, by building certain content that sustains, right, at a scalable model as well. I think from that point to media specific lens, on the media side, I think the job is fairly clear, wherein we work with Madison, who are fairly known clients, and I think what we get is the best of Gati, I would say, and I'll use that acronym. Gati fairly means for a growth aspiration. So when the brand grows is when the agency grows. We have certain models that kind of aid that. We also have a full accountability. I still remember the brand refresh exercise when it happened. It was a deeply engaging exercise, not just for us as marketers but also as leaders. I do remember Sam and Vikram interacting with our CEOs when initial stages this was entirely being discussed. And why do you need that accountability? Because you also want skin in the game, right? So which pretty much independent partners which are which are having a fair bit of scale are bringing to the table. The next important thing is again full transparency. What you mentioned in the beginning is that life insurance is a highly regulated industry, and every penny that the customer is paying is pretty much has to be tracked, and which is where we also command or maybe demand for full bit of transparency. I think that is something that is a quintessential for our industry at large. And last but not the least, I think innovation, and not just innovation at large scale, but even frugal innovations that happen across is something that's very important for us.
So you've been driving us to have this entire one Madison for a while now, where we've tried to bring in the entire, whether it's media planning and the entire performance piece to make it seamless. Now, you've also mentioned the other things that you're talking about. If there's one thing that we have to do to make your life better, what should it be?
I think there are a few things that pretty much are on the table, and I believe, see, majority of our brands have been struggling with this narrative called as one brand, right? How do you really, what you do in the top funnel is something that's reflective and also adds up to the bottom funnel. I think that entire through the funnel conversation that Ajit was just mentioning is very important for us. We have been in that place where some of our top funnel spends were not really turning into or helping us drive bottom funnel at large. But I think what we've done, not just externally but internally as well, we've changed structures internally, right? So there is something called as one brand structure that we've built internally at Axis Max Life Insurance that enables us to kind of reorient the entire team, which is what I think is expected out of the independent ecosystem as well. That how can you make most of the every rupee that we are spending across the across the funnel. And I think measurability is no doubt is one thing that definitely kind of brings a lot of growth matrices. I think last but not the least, what I saw with what Ajit presented, content at scale is something that's pretty much out there, right? So there is some content that brands are building by themselves. There are certain content pieces that are again being built by large holding companies, and large campaigns are being rolled out. But I think somewhere that understanding the core of the brand and then building content for a certain platform is quintessential, and which is something that the media companies trying to also add up to the content is something that's really important, and which also will help in future.
So great, that's a lead that you're giving us we can further try to improve our effectiveness by bringing in the content piece into this and keep the flexibility going, probably increasing. Thanks. Sarina, let's move to you. Look, you've got a fantastic brand, and I know you've nurtured, and you're very precious about how the brand presents itself to the consumers. We've had a lot of conversations on the creative side also, and this is one of the places where we've been sort of at least adding fair amount of, trying to add value on the creative side. But I'd like to get from you, if you have to look at it, because even you're looking at creating the content across platforms, you're looking also at a whole lot of different kind of content creation, and then you're looking at the performance piece. There's an added factor that there is a control which the brand has, but you also have to deal with channel partners who sometimes can have a life of their own. But do we collectively have to make sure that there is good accountability and quality and all that stuff coming from them? So if you have to reflect back on the way we work, what do you think what is working well and what can improve?
Thanks, Vikram. Firstly, thanks for having me here. Let me start by saying that fantastic brands are not built overnight. It takes time, it takes effort, and I think most important is working with an agency that partners with you to build that brand. I remember 3 years ago sitting in this audience, and the worst nightmare for a CMO is when an agency is not performing. And I remember sitting in the crowd. We had another agency at that time, a holding company, one of the brands of a holding company, and we wanted to switch. And Sam had invited me for this evening, and I sat there thinking, should I speak to Sam? And I know Sam for over 25 years. He was my client, and today, of course, we are your client. And I picked up the phone next day and I said, Sam, I have this problem. I need an agency that can provide me these services. And you're an independent brand. I would like to hear from you whether you would like to present your services to us. And what I was looking at, Vikram, is an agency that has a strong leadership. Because a strong leader or a strong leadership drives their people to achieve the client's business objectives. What I was looking for is for an agency and the leadership to understand my brand, because we are a very strongly focused brand marketing company. We work on brand equity. You will understand that we are a luxury brand. Our target group is the top end of the pyramid, and we are a very large ticket product. We believe that this is the biggest check a customer will ever write in his life when he buys a home from us or he leases our offices. And I think anyone here in this room would like to give that check to a credible brand, which means brand building is extremely important for us. Now, I have to talk about the brand and our design and our credibility on the different platforms, the social media platforms, and hence the whole content studio. I was looking at working with your team or a group of people who are equally excited to build this brand or tell these stories as my team is. My digital marketing team, I have about 6 people in the team, out of which 4 people are from an agency background. And that's important because then we understand each other very well, we understand each other, and we work together as partners. So I remember Sam coming over, and I said to Sam, see, listen, we are a very design-led company. 80% of our time, whether it's the architecture, the design, or our team, is spent, even our chairman and managing director spends 80% of his time in designing our product. Hence, my communication strategy also has to be underpinning design. And I said to Sam, please don't give me anything in a rush, and please don't give me anything with speed. Please take your time and give me good work. And Sam said to me, you never say that to an agency, Sarina. So we're not in a rush, but we want quality work, we want clean work, we want great aesthetics, great visuals. I think a great brand story can be told with aesthetically designed visuals, good message, and a very deep storytelling. And I think that's what we have worked together to build, the Madison team and my team. My team is equally excited to work with your team and carve out all those different stories that we build every day. Thanks.
Wonderful. And I'm going to just come on to this part when we move to the next section. Okay, not the least, Ashwath. So now, when we were having that little chat earlier, you had said that for the longest time, FMCGs had written the book of marketing, which almost all the other industries sort of used to try to follow. And now that game has entirely changed, and you yourself mentioned that you've seen how that admission is happening within them. Tell us, with reflecting on your maybe HUL background, how is it that what you're doing today, just juxtapose that with what they are doing, and what do you think, how is this entire marketing playbook changing, and what is it the implication for us as agencies?
Great. Thanks for having me here. Let me start by saying what book? There is no book today. And I think that's the challenge and the interesting part of today. And maybe, the good news is all of us here, the only person here who's selling a product and maybe a FMCG product is him. The rest of us are in businesses where the service or the product we're buying has really long journeys, right? So it's that much more harder. And I think that's the big difference, at least that I'm learning from here, which is in the CPG world, we all grew up on was salience, build salience, the rest will take care of itself, and you don't have to worry about everything else, by and large, right? And that was probably the Byron Sharp world that we all grew up on. That's getting rewritten. I think everybody's asking the CPG world today, and I don't know if there are people in the room from that world who are still questioning, saying, is that really what we need to continue, or is there something else that we need to do? The provocative answer is yes, there is something different that you need to do. And if FMCG itself is not relying on that, then I think as growth partners and growth architects that Ajit just referred to, agencies now, maybe that's the better term to use than agency, is that we now have to be constructing models that work for different industries based on the consumer journeys in those industries. And they were always complex. Maybe they've gotten even more complex now, especially in our categories. And I think that's the question, that whether it's an independent or a holding company or a in-housing that we have to solve for, is are we starting from first principles and trying to create new models rather than using the old world of so much reach, so much GRP. And I'm seeing it doesn't play out as linearly that I used to think it would or would have loved for it to have. It is far more complex than that.
Okay, so we have to now solve for the consumer journey and in the process solve the marketing problem.
Absolutely.
As against pure play salience.
That's right.
And we'll just come to that. Sir, you've also, of course, been in the complete FMCG piece, and in this right now of late, I think you've had it's very rare. Maybe at some point in time, you could have been, the Continental coffee could have been seen a few years back, probably as an emerging brand, and now, of course, has reached a very, very prominent state, and I'm sure it's all the legacy brands are now quaking in their shoes. Now, you've had, I think you've had the fantastic job and the challenge of taking limited budgets and really making them work very hard. You also probably invoked just about everything, storytelling, reach-based advertising, the entire e-commerce piece. So I think a large part of this stuff that we are talking about these days is all books that you've done. In your mind, what do you think is working well, and if you have to now reach your next growth phase, what is it that you need from us agencies to help you get there?
Okay, thank you. And thank you everybody for giving your own perspectives. So I think, so we have basically, the business divided into two worlds. One world is south of India and the other world is rest of India, okay? Because coffee is consumed very differently in these two parts of world, and therefore the size of the category, the penetration of the categories are very different. So I think to answer your question, what has worked for us? I think what has worked for us is television, okay? What has worked for us is e-commerce, bottom of the funnel advertising. What has worked for us is retail visibility at the point of sale in modern trade, okay? What has worked for us is city-specific print, city-specific outdoor. And why am I saying that they have worked? Because I could measure in quantitative or qualitative ways that, it has worked, because I have seen offtake increase, I have seen market share increase, I have seen people speaking that I have seen your advertising, I have seen my advertising. I think one of the major challenges in today's world is that you never get to see your own advertising, right? So I think these things to me have worked. What has not worked for us, or what is the challenge? Challenge is to build a small brand in rest of India, let's say, which is basically the HSM market, to build a coffee brand which is still very small,
without television and without linear television, how do you build it? And how do you make the top of funnel work, or at least measure that it is working or it is not working? So that I think is the challenge, if I have to. And this top of funnel is in e-commerce, which is on-platform advertising. It is also off-platform advertising, whether it is video platforms like YouTube or it is or social media platforms. I think that's a big challenge, and I feel that, so therefore the next question is that therefore what do I think that agency can do? So I'll just take a step back, and one thing I feel that I started my marketing career around 2000, and I have seen those days when the media agencies would come, they would treat the client's business as their business, and they would actually do a lot of hard work to refine your brief, to build very strong models using data, and give you a solution. I think that is what I feel is missing. Okay, I feel that I don't think that agencies today treat clients' business as their business. Sometimes you do not know whether they're representing the client or they're representing the publishers. Okay, that is one big area which I think agencies need to really introspect. And the second area, I think, just like me, let's say as a CMO, I'm telling that, okay, there are challenges. I feel that even agencies do not understand this entire ecosystem very well, because I'm saying that, like I said, that, in the digital ecosystem, non-linear TV ecosystem, how the top of funnel works, okay? How do you measure whether it is working or not working? What is the model that you create by doing multiple pilots to figure out whether you should spend, for an FMCG brand, for example, whether you should spend most of your money on social media or you should spend on YouTube, okay? Or you should spend on top of funnel on Amazon or on Zepto, okay, or on quick commerce. I think these learnings can only happen by trial and error. You can never come with a ready-made solution. You can come up with a ready-made solution if, as an agency, you have got a learning curve, and you can come back and say that, that through my pool of data, I think for your kind of brand, your kind of TG, this mix would work best. So I think that currently is missing, and which to me could be two ways, could be two reasons. One is that whether you are treating the client's business as your business, or are you accepting the fact that you also do not know many things, and therefore you have to collaborate and build the learning. I think, these are the two important areas for me. According to me, agencies need to introspect, because if you don't introspect that, then, client will never trust the agency, and agency will feel like that, client is not listening to me. So it's a very bad, outcome. So I think these are the two, my feeling and my observations. Yeah.
Excellent. That's some great insight there. Thanks, Raja. This panel is called scale, speed, and control. The first, in fact, the last almost 25 minutes that we've been talking, I kept it open-ended to find out what exactly are your pain points and what's working or not. What's interesting is what's coming out is, it came out resounding with two of you, is ownership, leadership, understanding my business. Those are all the old-fashioned, this goes back as long as marketing started. And to me, that's highly reassuring that if we can rediscover our mojo on that one, I think that is probably what counts probably more. Yes, the way when you're talking about, if you understand the business and the consumer, then how to tackle it through salience alone versus the full consumer journey, the ability to walk the entire piece in terms of full funnel, and you were talking about content creation along linked to the rest of it. Now this follows, but for me the big takeout has really been brand ownership, leadership, and if we can actually act like a true partner, I think that's what really you need. We have 5 minutes, and I actually had a whole lot more, but let's quickly go over some things. So I just want to check on the Holding Cos. And it's slightly unfair question because I don't think you are currently working with too many Holding Cos, but their story is one of a one spine which is holding the entire thing together, intelligence, data, tech, people have got identity profiles that they've invested in, and so on and so forth. We as independents, we try to offer that same thing, but we don't invest in the full identity spine ourselves. We take data partnerships and build technology on that and do it. In your mind, just on this full funnel spine related thing, do you think how real are the two offerings? Is it, I mean, I'm biased because I'm independent. Is the Holding Cos, are they really doing compliance tick off that I can actually have a capability to do this? Or do they actually have a spine which can understand the market and the consumer at the granularity by taking a global piece of sort of operating system? Do you have a point of view? If it's an unfair question, I can also retract it. But I wanted to get an idea because the fundamental difference is they're coming out with what? This WPP has got WPP open. Publicis is, what do they call it? They call it, I think, they call it power of one. The Omnicom calls it exponential innovation. So, you know, all of them, they've got a spine which they actually work off, and they take that full data and then they try to say that it'll apply for you in India. Now, I wonder, I'm a skeptic, but I would like to ask you, do you think there's some reality in that, or is it still seen to be more of a thing meant for US and not so much India?
Can I?
Please.
So I think there is some reality in it, okay? But it is not foolproof because a lot of the agencies which are having in-house data, most of those data is third-party data, and basically, you know, it is probability of reaching out to the right audience is slightly better than if you were not utilizing that data. But having said that, I'm just giving simple example, and I feel why it is not the foolproof method, because let's say I have to sell coffee. The best cohort for me, and I'm a very small brand, is basically to chase the cohort. Could be, just as an example, could be, you know, consumers who have bought coffee in last 6 months in Amazon or in Reliance, okay? And I just chase them, right? Because they are the high intent audience, they are coffee consumers today. My market share is very low, so I would rather create relevance in that cohort. And therefore, I would like to show my brand advertising to that audience in the right touch points. But can I showcase my advertising on people who have bought product in Amazon on YouTube? The answer is no, because there are walled gardens here. So I think as long as, you know, there is lack of transparency and collaboration of data, actually the brand is not getting the best solution. The brand is getting maybe, you know, a 40% solution, 30% solution, whatever. Something is always better than nothing. But actually we are not able to create the best solution because the data owners themselves have walled it. And as a brand, you are not really able to, you know, really create a proper cohort and go behind them in a proper manner. You cannot do it today. In India, it is not possible because there is Google on one hand, there is Meta on one hand, there is Amazon on one hand. Primarily, the data owners are these three, and maybe the fourth data owner are the, you know, PayUs or a PhonePe and these kind of guys.
So as an agency
an
agency who can sort of help you navigate across platforms, what is your ask of us?
That is a good solution, but that if an agency can provide, but I don't think such a solution exists today. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him. We used to work with a holding company, but although they say the power of one and you can use all our brands across, they don't function like that. I think each brand functions independently. So my question is, how do they offer you the entire offering that they say we can offer you? It doesn't matter which brands work with you. So I look at it differently. I don't know, spent so many decades with these, with working with agencies and trying them out. I think it's what the brand wants. I don't think it's about what the agency offers you. I think it's about what do you want? What does the client want? What does the brand want? So, of course, let me talk about ourselves. We need social media, we need performance marketing. I need websites created regularly because I come up with different projects and brands. I need the whole brand strategy. I need CX. And I need a retainer company as well. So now what I have done, Vikram, is I have divided and conquered. So my retail business, which is my mall business, we have a holding company that manages their creative, performance marketing, social media, because it's always now and always on. As a residential is my bread and butter. Hence I require everything and the whole brand for the whole brand strategy, for which I look for an agency that can efficiently give me all of this. Now, whether it's a holding company or it's an independent company, really doesn't matter.
Fair
As
enough.
long as I am efficiently served.
So just
Having said that, the global holding companies, I do see their talent, their creative talent is very high. Their benchmarks, the trends that are followed globally, they can provide that to you. But then agencies are, it's all about human capital. The technology, like you said, they're not owned by them. They're third party. That can be got through any vendor. But the human capital that exists in agencies, that has to be very, very high and very committed and has to understand your brand and be there to offer you their service efficiently. I think that's a big question mark.
That's a great point. So just moving off that, Ashwath, do you think that moving forward there will be more specialists, or will you feel that there will be more integration within an agency?
I was just reading somewhere that there are about 42,000 advertising and media agencies
Something
in the
like
country. I fell off my chair when I heard that number for a ad spend of 1.5 crore. That's an average of 4 crore, spend management per agency. Obviously, that's an average. There must be a Pareto there. But there is going to be fragmentation, because if there are more and more entrepreneurs and small businesses looking out for boutique solutions, specialists are definitely going to happen. And therefore, what is the implication for whether it's holding company or independence? That your client base is shifting to a long tail, and therefore services have to be micromanaged versus one size fits all. And yeah, so the short answer is they will need to be more specialists.
And who's going to play the job of orchestration of all of them?
That is the internal team
That'll
of
be
the company.
That'll be internal, or if we could do it in the agency.
I would imagine it will be at the company's end, and the question is, where does in a holding company, right? And typically they handle large multinational or multi-category high complexity clients, right? And therefore you don't want to create more complexity in-house by dealing with 10 people. Relatively simpler businesses in the sense that they're all in largely one category, maybe two.
Sahil, do you agree? More specialists or more integration? Because you've gone the integration route over the time.
Actually, I wanted to answer your previous question in one single line, and I have to also catch my flight. I'm getting late, but I think one thing is very clear. See, what looks great on a pitch deck may not necessarily be the case in the actual execution. And I think the tech stacks pretty much, what you mentioned, are available with specialists and all. I think it's just that the leadership, kind of exchanges that we mentioned, and the symbiotic, environment in which we have to work, where there will be multiple, partners that we'll be working with. There will be kind of in-house, content creators that we'll be working with. All of that has to really, come back and converge to one singular dashboard, and everybody has to own that up. I think that's the entire crux of
Use
the
technology to do that
Yeah.
through dashboards. Great. Our time is up. I think I would have loved. Okay, no, I think our time is up. I wanted actually to get one closing piece of advice to Madison from each of you. So when we meet, say next year, same time, what is the one change that you want in whatever we're giving you today? Just take one so that we can focus on that. Who wants to start? Just a quick one.
I could go. I mean, the transition to growth architects, super critical.
So that sounded good.
Yeah, and I think creating models from first principles for the new world through trial and error, through empirical
Growth
data.
architects,
these
models
two.
from first principles.
Yeah.
Sarina?
Rather than just asking me what do I want, Sarina, I would like your agency to advise me and to be my brand consulting agency as well. And tell me, no, we should do this, why don't we do that? Or you should spend your money here, or you spend your money there. You need to advise us and give us your expert advice on how we should and where we should put our monies.
Fantastic, thank you. Raja?
I think not just for Madison, as I said, that I think one thing that agencies needs to do today, including Madison, would be that you have to start treating your client's business as your business. I think that is very, very critical. Because then your behavior will change, and that will have a positive impact in the way even you are looking at your organization structure.
Thank you. And Sahil?
I think in true sense, whatever was presented by Ajit today on the presentation that he made, I think if all of that is in true sense being executed, whether it's the M-Brain that will give you AI generated kind of genuine advice, analyzing your entire through funnel, or it is market mix modeling, or even if it is content generation to kind of take up from a core of content that I am creating and then eventually take it to a larger scalable model. I think those things will definitely help if we are able to work kind of cohesively in that.
Wonderful. Guys, please give a big round of applause. And especially the Madison guys need to give a double round of applause for all this consultancy that you've got. So thank you again so much. Very invaluable for us. Thank you.